this go because you know what I came in to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
Nobody wants to say it because there's a lot of
Alexander Usyk admirers, me being one of them, right?
Because he's a gifted boxer, they delude themselves to the realities of Usyk as a commercial commodity. The facts are, the sporting world, I'm not going to say the boxing world, the sporting world don't really care about an undisputed fight between Usyk and Tyson Fury. That's why it's been over 3 weeks since Bob Arum said he's waiting for these site fees from the Saudis. But I haven't heard no announcement. You know, they're saying there's no fight date imminent.
February the 12th, this is Boxing Social. They're saying it looks like the Saudis are not coming through. And a lot of the media are saying this. But is it true, though? Is that true? Because on the 23rd of March, Bob Arum said that Usyk had already structured a deal with the Saudis, his own personal deal. So logic would tell you, if Usyk has structured a deal, then for whatever reason, Tyson Fury and Bob Arum have been disagreeable with the Saudis and haven't structured a deal.
Not all that close, Max, unfortunately. There's been a holdup. I was talking to some people earlier today, and I'm told the fight is highly unlikely and probably not going to Saudi Arabia anymore, which, you know, really hurts the efforts because of all the money that they were offering to do this fight. Now the fight's likely to head to England, but the problem is going to be getting enough money to satisfy both Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. And I was told that they are still targeting April 29th, but a long way to go, it appears. They need to get a deal done first.
So now they're going to have to generate all the income themselves, which they didn't want to do. They was relying on that Saudi site fee because they don't want to split it 50-50 in the UK because there's less money in the pot. And Bob Arum is saying if 95,000 fans turn up to Wembley, that Tyson Fury should take the lion's share.
They're all coming to see him, is what Frank Warren and Arum will tell you.
Although Usyk has fought Joshua in a stadium fight, sold out White Hart Lane, which Tyson couldn't do. He didn't sell out White Hart Lane. Usyk and AJ did. Also, Usyk done good pay-per-view numbers with AJ. Derek Chisora has fought in the UK several times. And rather than just give the fans the good news and split it 50-50, Usyk does have 3 straps. It's all becoming a bit of a joke.
You know, at one stage, I would have been frustrated that if this was Eddie Hearn and AJ stalling to make the fight as long as this, the backlash they'd get from Twitter, YouTube, mainstream media, fringe media would be crazy. But what I'm realizing now, as good as Tyson Fury is, they see him as a perpetual screw-up. They don't expect him to really get these fights done. They would expect AJ to get this Usyk fight done. If people were honest, AJ might have lost 2 on the bounce, but they're thinking, are the belts really going to get tied up if AJ's not the common denominator? Can I really take Tyson Fury serious? You know, is Bob too old? I think a lot of people look at it that if it's going to get done, it's going to take somebody like Eddie Hearn to get it over the line.
People like to conveniently forget that Eddie Hearn secured a £150 million site fee for the undisputed fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury in 2021. Only for Bob Arum and Frank Warren and Tyson Fury to mess it all up. AJ, hands down, lost to the better boxer twice. He's no longer champion. So the draw is eliminated from potentially the biggest fight in boxing history.
So what did Tyson Fury do when AJ was eliminated? He asked the Saudis for $500 million.
He asked for $500 million from the Saudis. He asked them for $500 million after botching up the first negotiation with AJ in 2021. And Eddie Hearn said the Saudis weren't pleased. They weren't pleased with the unprofessionalism of Tyson Fury, Frank Warren, and Bob Arum.
You see, the media are not asking the questions that need to be asked because for some reason they seem to just lick the arse of anyone who isn't Eddie Hearn. Why isn't nobody asking Bob Arum how Usyk has structured a deal and Fury hasn't structured a deal? We don't have no dates, no announcements, no nothing. Did they try to tap them up for ridiculous money again? They probably didn't ask for $500 million. But did they try to get the $150 million that Eddie was able to secure? And the Saudis said no. Is that what happened? But what's the truth? They're not going to give you the same money for Usyk that they were going to give up for AJ. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. As talented as Usyk is, that's the truth, you know? Looks like boxing needs Anthony Joshua to win against Jermaine Franklin right now. I'm not dissing Usyk. He's perhaps pound for pound 1 or 2 in the world. You know, if it was up to me, he'd be a big draw. He hasn't been in a pay-per-view that I haven't purchased, from the WBSS to the Tony Bellew fight, Derek Chisora, Anthony Joshua. Usyk, without a British fighter in front of him to carry the load in terms of crowd and pay-per-view buys, it's like a fish out of water. It's not really a big news story that they couldn't secure the Saudi money, because I'm assuming they didn't get the 150 million that Eddie got from them, and Team Fury screwed up. They're not getting that kind of money. Ring IQ, he also made a point, is with them big site fees, like Usyk, AJ2, TV rights end up in the Saudis' hands. So Usyk and AJ, which took place in Saudi, the TV rights went out on the market. They didn't just go straight to the zone. No. And Sky won the bid. So perhaps Bob doesn't want Sky, shall I say Frank, doesn't want Sky to come in with some ludicrous bid and take the fight away from them. And on the other side of the pond, Bob doesn't want the fight to end up at Showtime or Fox, let's say, or the Zone. It's still not a good enough reason to walk away from the table and for the fight not to go ahead. I mean, they could negotiate a reduced site fee and retain whatever rights they need in the USA or Britain. There is no good reason for the fight not to go ahead, basically. No excuse. I mean, do you think the Zone, who just signed AJ for 100 million, were smiling when Sky got the bid for the Usyk 2 fight? No, they was expecting the Saudis just to hand it over to them. Nope. Saudis put the fight on the market and Sky won it. No excuse. No excuse for Bob. Saudis ain't no dumbasses, yeah? Like, it was 60 million, the site fee for Andy Ruiz AJ2. 60 million. This was the Saudis' first significant move into the heavyweight division, into high echelon boxing. They didn't ask for the TV rights. 60 million. There you go, AJ. There you go, Eddie. There you go, Sky. 60 million. But why did they do that? Well, that was a sweetener. They had to make this fight as easy as possible to make. So they just said, okay, there you go. Next time around, you want 50 million, 100, 150 million? No, we keep the TV rights now. I will put it on the market. So they're becoming very savvy. They're certainly not going to let Bob Arum and Tyson Fury and Frank play them out after they've messed them around already. Are they using the politics to swerve this fight? I mean, Tyson Fury calls Usyk a middleweight, but Usyk has a skill set and a mindset that could make Tyson Fury look ordinary. I don't know if Usyk can win the fight, but I'm just not feeling that enthusiasm from Warren, Arum, or Fury. They've set a date for April for the Usyk fight to happen at Wembley, and what was telling is they said if Usyk isn't in the opposing corner, it's going to be someone else. That doesn't suggest to me that they're fully committed to selling this fight. It should be Usyk or bust right now. There shouldn't be mention of any potential other opponent in the opposing corner. Red flag already. You know, I'm thinking it's risk-reward right now. They're not risking it against Usyk unless they can extort the game. Extort the Saudis, extort the game. They're not paying up. Usyk, he believes Tyson Fury is running scared. He said, Belly, you talk about greatness in boxing. At the same time, you say, give me a lot of money. Greatness in boxing is not determined by money. Greatness comes from a victorious path. You say that I avoid you, although I never have. In fact, I even come to you. I'm ready to box with you, even without any prize money. Well, and hopefully the fight is made, but you have to ask yourself, like, whether you're an uploader or mainstream media, fringe media, why is it you think AJ pulled out of the Fury fight? When it's Fury who has the history of stalling fights, pulling out, ducking. AJ don't have a history of doing this. He doesn't. He was trying to rush the AJ negotiation through. For what? For what exactly? So he can be in a stalemate with the Saudis for weeks and still nothing signed. So now the Andy Ruiz fight is in doubt with Deontay Wilder. He was telling us a couple of weeks back that Al Heyman is not paying the money on time, and that needs to change. Mike Coppinger was telling us that Wilder is having issues getting funds to make the Andy Ruiz fight. What are the issues? What's going on there at the PBC? You know, Shelley was saying they're prepared to travel to London to fight Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury didn't fight in London once or in England once. When Lou DiBella was promoting Deontay Wilder, they're saying the fight has to happen in America. Because America is the mecca of boxing. Used to be the mecca of boxing. You know, PBC sending Tony Harrison to Australia to fight Tim Tszyu. Stephen Fulton, he's going to Japan to fight Inoue. Bob Arum sending Teofimo Lopez from Top Rank to the United Kingdom to fight Josh Taylor. So I'm figuring it's not just the PBC. It's not just the PBC. America is not being able to match the purse demands of their biggest fighters, their stars. So the Anthony Joshua fight is not there for Deontay Wilder right now. And he's calling out Francis Ngannou. I didn't do much research on it. Apparently Ngannou's contract ran out. They offered him a free fight deal and he bounced. He wants to get on this boxing bandwagon. He's probably seen the likes of Jake Paul and the influencers, KSI, and the notoriety and success. Although a lot of Jake Paul's events on Showtime haven't really flourished, in all truth. But you know, you don't have to be able to crunch figures. There's a lot more money in boxing, especially for someone as infamous as Francis Ngannou. I know nothing about him, really. I've watched him fight a couple of times, but I know nothing about him. It would be suicidal for him to go in the ring with Deontay Wilder, though, wouldn't it? Without us at least seeing him bang over a couple of journeymen. But Wilder says he'll fight him in the ring and in the octagon. Since Andy scored the upset against Joshua, they've been talking about, this fight has to happen on the PBC. Well, that was the only fight, not just in the heavyweight division, but aside from Garcia versus Tank, that was lucrative at the PBC. What is the PBC's future? What fights are there in America for Wilder? Andy Ruiz is a former champion. Is he going to fight for peanuts at this stage of his career? What fights are there at the PBC? He beat Luis Ortiz. No Wilder fight there. Who's on the roster? Frank Sanchez? Neither Wilder or Andy is going to fight Frank Sanchez. You see, Shelley Finkel was never going to tell Wilder, who proved himself to be an archetype, ignorant pugilist at the end of it. They didn't tell Wilder that boxers gamble enough. You gamble on your psychological well-being, your neurological health, and a list of other ailments. You gamble enough already. So all this betting on yourself is not what's done. You see, Bob Arum can bet on the outcome and take risks and take chances. And if it comes off, he's all smiles, and the organizations that he's doing these deals with are all smiles, they're all happy. If it fails, he's going to be pissed, really pissed. But for the most part, he's working with the network's money, sponsorship money. You know, any losses, he dusts himself down and he'll be back. That's why he's been around 60 years. Wilder's been a pro and amateur for around 19 years. You go look how much cards Bob Arum has done on BoxRec compared to how many fights Wilder has had on BoxRec. It's not comparable. You don't bet on yourself. You let the people who've got long money bet on themselves. You negotiate the best deal for yourself every time, without exception. Yeah? And all them nutters who supported the PBC saying he made the right moves when he did it.
Now look at you now.
There were websites. People actually spent money to design websites to say that Wilder was right to turn down the money. Turn down an undisputed fight for a $120 million deal because, we don't know what AJ's getting. And then, you know, if you reply to these men, and they're men, that's what's frightening, it's men. You reply to them and say, you do realize that these purses that Wilder and AJ opponents are getting is because AJ's the draw. You do realize that. He's the one who's brought the money back to the division. Apparently Crawford and Spence are working out their fight behind closed doors. You're like, oh no, please. But, you know, what is the future for the PBC? What's Wilder's future? It's not all roses between him and Al. We know that. What's Andy Ruiz got to say about it all? Does Wilder want the fight? It's supposed to be an eliminator, Wilder versus Andy Ruiz. A WBC eliminator. But it looks like negotiations have collapsed and the details about the collapse have been very vague so far. The only thing we've heard is Mike Coppinger. There's a lot of frustration between fighter and promotional company. In this case, PBC. And just when you think it was safe, everything just starts to make sense. Tyson Fury has held talks for a fourth fight against Deontay Wilder at Wembley as backup if Usyk fight doesn't happen. Now, a lot of you are going to say, oh, no, not that fight again. But Fulton, Harrison, Teofimo Lopez, now Wilder. If you outsource the fight, Canelo and Ryder in Mexico as opposed to in America, the fight's appeal changes. You can't put Ryder Canelo on in America. Why is that? Because you have Andrade, you have Benavidez, who a lot of the critics say Canelo should be fighting. Ryder will not satisfy a lot of the sports writers and the boxing fans over there. But Mexico, in Canelo's homecoming, or in the UK, it's good to go. It's good to go. A fourth Wilder Fury fight in America. No. Wilder only done 77,000 pay-per-views against Hellenius. The American public are not buying into watching this guy get beaten up by Fury again. The British public will pay for it though, because it's new. It's fresh to them, but it's old news to America. There's still a lot of fans in the UK who will be happy to see Deontay Wilder coming over here, talking shit, threatening to catch a body, whether he can do it or not. And the last fight was exciting. I just caught this just now, this story here. I don't think Fury-Usyk is happening. I don't think it's happening. Usyk, undisputed or not, he can't draw the same excitement as Deontay Wilder stepping over here. Big 6'7", brash talking American, knockout percentage. It doesn't matter that he's lost 2 out of the 3 fights so far with Fury. Now, I don't have a problem them fighting 4 times, but Tyson should be fighting Usyk. He should be fighting Usyk. Let's keep it real. If you're going to fight 4 times, like the old school, that means you've got to fight as frequently as the fighters from the old school, and they're not doing that. There's other fights that Tyson Fury needs to be taking. And if Wilder crosses over to this side of the street on a Bob Arum, Frank Warren joint, what's left there at the PBC? We have to look at the possibility that it's over. It's over. How serious are they about this Spence Crawford negotiations behind closed doors right now? And it's good they're doing it behind closed doors. And that's where they need to keep it, whether it flops or materializes. You know, Bob Arum has basically outsourced Tyson to the UK for his last 2 fights on Frank Warren cards, although Tyson would have issues getting in America. But nevertheless, that's the state of play. Josh Taylor, the plan was to build Josh Taylor up in America, but that's too much like hard work for Bob Arum right now. Too much like hard work. So Teofimo Lopez, UK, to challenge Josh Taylor for that WBO 140-pound belt. And Bob has no issue doing this. He has no issue outsourcing the work to the UK. Let's remember, like, post Muhammad Ali, after he beat Spinks and retained the WBA belt, Larry Holmes had the WBC belt, Ali retired, and the WBA belt went over to South Africa, where Bob done joint promotions with Cedric Kushner. John Tate won the belt from America. Bob Arum promoted. He fought a couple of South Africans. Mike Weaver took the belt from him. Mike Weaver defended the belt in South Africa against Jerry Coetzee. And Bob done a lot of fights in South Africa. So he has no issue outsourcing the work. It's due to Bob Arum. I always put myself down a wormhole. But it's due to Bob between... I haven't got the dates right now and I can't remember the stat. But we're talking about maybe late 60s, early 70s, up until the mid to late 70s, there was only 2 middleweight world title fights in the USA. And that's because Bob, with Sabatini and Duff, was outsourcing the fights to Europe. Yeah, all them defenses that Carlos Monzon had, I think Tony Licata was the only defense he had in America. And the likes of Hugo Coro, Rodrigo Valdez, good fighters. Outsourced all them title fights, South America and Europe. He outsourced Beterbiev to defend his free straps against Yard in England just the other week. A couple of years back, Lomachenko was over here, taking on Luke Campbell. Secretly, I think Bob rates Eddie Hearn as a promoter because he too has no issues about promoting fights abroad. And if you're wondering why I keep bringing up Al Heyman and the ITV boxing deal, if you're wondering why, this is why. This is why I've been predicting that motherfucker's downfall for a little while. Yeah? Boxing is a global sport. When Bob was outsourcing that WBA belt in the early 80s, he was going to that Loftus Stadium doing 80,000 crowds and shit. This is about survival. This is post-Ali. Larry Holmes weren't that popular a champion in Ali's absence. This is about survival. Where do we go next? There's video online with Duff, Sabatini and Arum pulling big major strings in boxing, sitting down together. One Italian promoter, one English promoter, one American promoter. And they're outsourcing work between them in South Africa, America, Latin America, Europe. Yeah. Only an idiot thinks you can live in this insular bubble in America. I tell you what idiots they're the same idiots who were supporting Deontay Wilder when he was betting on himself. Only an idiot thinks you can do that. Devin hasn't fought in America for how long now? Fighting Kambosos 2 times on the bounce. Clarissa Shields is probably going to fight Natasha Jonas in the UK. Taylor Serrano, Ireland. So things done change. Things done change. You know, the British fighters, DeGale, Khan, Froch, all had to fight their fair share of battles on the road. The Eastern Europeans, I know Kazakhstan isn't wherever, but look, don't do all that geography shit. They've had to apply their trade, whether it's Golovkin, Lomachenko, Bivol, Kovalev, Usyk, on the road. Could we see the tide turn and more American boxers having to up sticks and get the foreign money? I'll be glad if that does happen. I'll be glad. Maybe the networks and the promoters will start appreciating what they had when their fighters say, yo, I'm going to secure my family's future with the foreign money. That's what I'm going to do. You know, when Al Heyman and the ITV deal flopped, the PBC fighters were more active. There weren't all these complaints. They had Thurman and Errol Spence producing good fights at 147. Wilder was champion. Broner was active. Jamal was active. They haven't really capitalized on Jamel being undisputed champion globally. I don't think his popularity has expanded that much. 147 was hot. 154 was hot. They weren't concerned about other territories around the world. The back-end money was good, innit? it? But we're hearing all these little rumblings of discontent. You give Al Heyman that same ITV deal now, and he'll work way harder at it now. He won't just neglect it like that. Trust me, you give him that deal now. Watch him invest his time and get the right people on board to make it work this time. But yo, if Ruiz and Wilder doesn't happen, and if Fury and Usyk don't happen, we know why now. Wilder and Fury are planning a fight this summer.